Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. So anda semua apa khabar pagi ni? I think you are in the middle of your semester. For sure, there are lots of assignments, but as I mentioned previously, that this subject is for me a good opportunity to score. So now you are in the second stage of the project one from the three stages. So the second stage is about requirement specification. This is for me, this is another very important stage because 40% of your mark comes from this stage, and you are going to do only one thing, that means requirement specification. So both will be used to evaluate your achievement in this aspect. I mean, the first one in terms of report, and the second one in terms of your presentation. So 20% goes to your report, and 20% goes to your presentation. That means for me it's very big marks there. Usually when you create your project on other subject, the final project for other subject, you will be given 20% or at most 30%. This one is 40%. So you really need to give some weight, some time for this part. Okay, so I'm going to share a few things. This very short duration. If you have any query, anything you want to discuss, I will open the discussion after this. Okay, and please interrupt me if you have any other question, any other thing that you want to discuss. Okay, this stage, what you have to do is about requirement specification. For me, requirement specification is very simple. I mean, simple in terms of definition, where in this stage you are going to list your system functions, all the functions that you are going to develop in your project. Either it is functional specification or non-functional specification. Okay, it is about you are going to list this thing. That is the most important thing. Although later you are going to list and describe it in some diagrams, some tools that such as use case, class diagram, etc. Okay, as I always stressed previously, you should go back to the what we call it, the schema. Please go back to the schema. For instance, what I'm going to evaluate you in this case. So in your presentation, I'm going to evaluate you only on 6 items. So please make sure, try to deliver the 6 items as good as possible. And some of the item is a bit redundant. For example, item 3 and item 4. Item 3 is about appropriate symbol of your use case, and item 4 is the completeness of that one. So with that, see item you will get your 20% mark. So it's very, for me it's very big mark. So you need really to give attention to these things. Okay, for the first part, appropriate tools. Sorry. For the appropriate tools, I can say that at least you need to deliver this aspect. One is use case, the other one is class diagram, and the third one is sequence diagram. For those from SE, even the other majoring as well, those from SE, I think you are very familiar with this. For those who are not from SE, if you have to refer back, ask your SE colleagues, please do so, because it's very big marks here, especially for use case, class diagram, sequence diagram. Lecturer will evaluate you based on this thing, except this time you have to do in presentation, and your supervisor also will evaluate based on this thing as well, your use case, your class diagram or sequence diagram, but in terms of written report. Okay, that's the first. At least you should have. If you want to add other tools, okay, you can add. Okay, the second part about prioritization for SE student, I think you are really familiar with this. This prioritization, I'm referring to this, to the area that I circle in red, red area. Okay, this I'm referring to. Second part is about this, where you put the priority correctly. Either it's mandatory, optional. What is the other one? Mandatory, optional. Satu lagi apa dia? Tolong.
Jaya.
Apa dia? Say again.
Jaya.
Say again, please. Sorry, I can't hear you clearly. Desirable. Yes, thank you. Yeah, OMD. Okay, the third things. Kejap. The third and the fourth thing is about your use case. The fifth item is about your sequence diagram, and the last one is the class diagram. So I have shared with you one of the report. I think one of the good report that write all those tools, use case, class diagram, sequence diagram. One of your senior. Okay, kalau in case no question, I will go further. This what your supervisor will evaluate. 7 items only. So again, we go through all the 7 items. Introduction, general description, functional requirement. So these 3 from the 7, I will display the other 4 next after this. Okay, so although your work, I mean your writing letter, most of your writing will go to the, or most of your writing, most of your energy will go to the functional requirement, to the use case, to the class diagram, with all the things. But the mark for each item is equal. I mean the introduction and the functional requirement, introduction part and functional requirement part is similar weight in terms of your mark. So I mean, you should give your time as well to produce a good introduction and good general description. Okay, so when you write your introduction, try to write something extra, but not too lengthy. I mean, extra means don't just say that this system is going to develop uh, say that student information system. I mean, try to go further than that. So this system is um, to 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 develop student information system that can do this thing. So by having this system, several users, you specify the user, several users will find that it is very easy, very efficient, or whatever it is. Try to make it more elaborate, but not too lengthy. Okay. So including general description. But in the general description, if I'm not mistaken, in the template is already have the sub items for that. For example, the constraint, the assumption, and you can put that thing. But again, when you describe, don't write only one sentence. Try to write 2-3 sentences that can give some attraction to your project. Anda kena tarik perhatian. Try to attract the reader that your system is important, your system is interesting. I mean, try to implicitly write those things or explicitly write those things. Okay, so functional requirement, I will go a bit detail about functional requirements later. I prepare one slide regarding that. Okay, the other items is non-functional requirement. I think this is very simple. You can check the example that I have given to you. So the rest is back to what we mentioned previously: use case model, sequence diagram, class diagram. So all these things, it really requires your understanding, your proper understanding of your project. My point is, it goes back to your project, your understand, your comprehensive understanding of the project. Okay, so I go to next slide. So I think you can ask me after. For the functional requirement, although I'm telling you this, but at the end, it is very important for you to discuss with your supervisor. Definitely, certain supervisor want certain things. The other supervisor might require certain other things. But in general, I like to give my suggestion to you that for your functional requirement, you might list many functional requirements, or you might list only a few requirements. But for me, the general idea should be like this. You should make it more than simple information system. Try to make it more than simple information system. What is simple information system? Simple information system usually consists of simple searching, who are the students in the class, who are how many who are the students in the class, who are the lecture, what are the subject that the student enroll, etc. That simple search, simple display, including group me, create database, read database, update database. That is simple. That is normal for information system. Usually the information system will consist of enter the data, display the data, update the data, delete the data, and try to make it more than that. More than that means the system should have some logic, if possible. Have some logic. I mean, you should have some operation, not just with this simple database operation, such as your searching is more than simple search. The searching might be just to list the student that score A in the class. I mean, it needs some further logic. The system can recommend certain things. The system that can automate certain things. The system can make recommendation, or the system can automate certain things. The system can do some if else, or make certain selection, make certain suggestion, etc. I mean, try more than that, more than simple insert, update, delete information system. But it shouldn't be too difficult. I mean, don't be too over ambitious. Jangan jadi terlalu cita-cita besar. Don't be too ambitious. Because some students try to create very long functional requirements. At the end, it's very difficult to implement. As you know, that beside this subject, you also enroll in other subjects. You also have to do the other assignments. So try to list the requirement, the function that you can do within 2 semesters. Okay, that's about functional requirement. Do more than simple system information system, but not too difficult. Okay, although I have discussed about this, but I think I should try to repeat it, because this time for the second part of your project 1, the mark is 20%. The first part is only 5%. I think it's still okay. But for 20% for me, it's very big. So try to allocate enough time for you to prepare the presentation. To prepare the presentation and to perform the presentation. Prepare the presentation means prepare the slide, prepare the Prepare what? Prepare the slide and prepare the way you want to present it. Try to get some practice, etc. 20%, with only 6 items that your lecturer will evaluate you. Definitely, to have a good presentation, you should come from a good project. And a good project in this case or in this stage is about a good requirement specification. It boils down to that part. Okay, take your time, try to think, try to ask around, try to read some others information to create this one. But although you do not have this good aspect, but you should try to get some marks from your presentation. I mean, you still need to prepare as good as possible. Okay, first you need to prepare a good slide presentation. Don't copy and paste. Don't copy and paste for your report, put in your presentation. I always mention to my students, even my PhD students, try to create unconventional slide presentation. Try to create more than common presentation. At least first you should less text. Don't copy a paragraph and put in your presentation. Try reduce the text for each point. Not for instance, not more than 10 words per point. Create more diagram rather than text. More diagram, more flow chart, boxes. I mean, try to put in different way rather than to put in text. Use the animation if you want to show from one part to other parts. Please get practice. For your first presentation, for the first presentation, it's still okay. It's only 5 marks. But for this one, it's 20 marks. Make some practice. So when you take some time to practice, when you practice, you don't have to read the slide. Try not to read the slide. Although you can put your notes beside your computer at the right or left of your computer, you can read it, but I mean not to read all. I mean, and by practicing, I think you can stress the point, or even you read, but try not to read. Even you read, when you read, try to stress the point. Try to get confident. I think it can, all these things will arise if you put some practice, especially if you really understand fully of your project. So try to focus on the important aspect. I mean, when you present the important aspect. For instance, for the use case, say that for the use case, we are having 3 types of users. First, second, third, and the first user will be able to do this, the second user to be able to do this, etc. Try to put your point one by one clearly. So it's always good to attract your audience to your presentation points. I think I always like to start something that this presentation is very important, or my project is very important, because a very project will offer interesting solution to the current problem. Try to attract the audience, the attention of your audience. Okay, I have something from your seniors. I just try to survey around, and some of the things that I think worth to mention. This from your senior. All of them got a score A in this project. Okay, for them, one of the most important thing is to understand the project requirement and the system flow clearly. Make sure you understand your project. Make sure you understand the functions that will be contributed by your project. Although and all the flows in your project, from the first stage, the second stage, the third stage, the fourth stage, until it completes for each and every function of your system. Okay, you can go up to the sketch you're using to make sure that you really understand the flow of your system. If you can go up to that, it's very good. It shows that you really clear, you have really have very vivid I mean your whole system. You can imagine your whole system. What will happen when you develop later? It's as such as now you already develop your project in your mind. It's just after this you are going to implement it. Okay, one of your seniors also give this tip that try to submit your draft. Yeah, I earlier to your supervisor, especially if you have a supervisor that can after that can tell you this is not enough. This you should add something here. You should reduce something here. Or your scope is too big, or your scope is too small. So if you have that opportunity, it's very good to submit it earlier. I really concur with this. I really agree with all these things. It's a very good thing. Okay, this might be a bit redundant. You can read the other paper, the other project that are close to your project. The most important is we want to get the idea. We want to expand your idea. So as I mentioned previously, it's not just about simple information system or too typical of information system. Try to expand further. To give your better idea is try to look at other projects. Try to read other papers, etc. Okay. If you have end users or you can identify a user, you can discuss with them. This will give you better idea how to expand it further and ensure that the functionalities are well understood. I have one more student that give you this suggestion. Sorry, just kidding. This student has looked at the list of the suggestion or the for your senior, and he said that it's already mentioned by others. Okay, that's all I think I want to share with you this morning. So before we end this session, if you want to discuss anything or you want to ask anything, I open to discussion. Okay, the duration for the presentation is not more than 10 minutes. Okay, any other question? Okay, Dana, thank you. How about others? So please give your time for this part. Amiru always so far so good. Okay, so I think let us close this session, and we can keep communicate through WhatsApp. If you have any further question after that, so I think you need more time to write, to even not only write, to think about your project. Yeah. And try go beyond than previous way we think about information system. Try to contribute more from your project. But as I told you as well, make sure you can do it. You can do it within the time period that we have. Okay, so okay lah kot. Please don't hesitate to keep asking, to keep discussing regarding your issue, your problem, etc. Okay, so bye bye. Jumpa lagi.
Terima kasih, Doktor.